So to start off, we're going to be assessing his center of pressure. And as you can see, Collin's pretty aligned everywhere. And his center of pressure should fall around to his midfoot, right around here. His ankle joint is 11 centimeters posterior of the axis. His knee joint also quite close, but around 4 centimeters anterior of the axis. Collin, do you mind pointing out your hip joint for me? Hip joint aligned with the knee joint, it looks like. Looks around also 4 centimeters posterior to the axis. Then we have his lumbar spine. His lumbar spine has normal curvature. Don't see anything out of place. And looks to be 11 centimeters posterior of the axis. Then we have his shoulder joint. You can see his shoulder joint is possibly 2 centimeters posterior of the axis. And then we have his cervical spine. Cervical spine also has a nice natural curve, and it's pretty far back, around 14 centimeters posterior of the axis. Collin has some small anterior pelvic tilt. As you can see, his butt pops out backwards a little bit, and it's probably just a little slight lordosis, but nothing else. This is Collin in the frontal plane position, and you can see his nose and chin are quite on axis. Collin, do you mind pointing out your sternal notch to me? It should be around here. Sternal notch falls right under his chin, is also quite on axis, and the xiphoid should be right in between your pectoral muscles. Once again, right on the axis. And do you want to point out your belly button for me? Looks on axis, and your pubis is just a little bone above your prostate. Also seems on axis to me. Collin doesn't seem to have any shift in his pelvis obliquity. Do you want to just point out your hip bones for me? As you can see, they're quite straight. This is a posture assessment of Collin wearing a backpack on one shoulder. So I'm going to start with his center of pressure, which clearly has moved a little bit back as his back is leaning a little bit back. And with that, his weight is going to fall closer towards his heels. His ankle joint is still 11 centimeters posterior of the axis. Knee joint is doing a little bit more bending to support the backpack. But it does look to be 7 centimeters anterior of the axis. Hip joint, do you mind putting out your hip joint one more time? Great, thank you. 5 centimeters forward anterior of the axis. Then we have your lumbar spine. Lumbar spine doesn't seem to be changing too much. Looks like there's an increased curve a little bit. That's also 10 centimeters posterior of the axis. The shoulder joint has gone back a little bit, and it looks to be 5 centimeters posterior of the axis. And his cervical spine also is leaning back because of the backpack. It should be a little farther back. Looks to me around 18 centimeters. So Collin's pelvis attitude, it has shifted a little bit from when he added the backpack. And instead of a small anterior pelvic tilt, it has done a posterior tilt, and it now looks neutral to me. So the lordosis seems to be gone. So starting with his nose and chin, they seem to be a little bit off axis. Both seem to follow each other and to be 2 centimeters lateral on his left side. Do you want to point out your sternal notch for me, which is just right above here? Yeah. Xiphoid is on axis, as you can see. And his navel, do you want to just point out your belly button for me? Oh, belly button actually tilted laterally on his right side, about 3 centimeters. And lastly, we have your pubis. 3 centimeters lateral on his right side. Let's see if he has any pelvic obliquity. Do you want to point out your hip bones for me? Right there. Yeah, as you can see, his right side is a little bit superior to his left side, and his left side is inferior. Collin's backpack greatly impacted his posture.
With the backpack on in the sagittal plane, the center of pressure is more posterior. The ankles are in the same location. The knee is more anterior by 5 centimeters. The hip is more anterior by 1 centimeter. Lumbar is more posterior by 3 centimeters. Shoulder is more posterior by 3 centimeters. Cervical is more posterior by 3 centimeters. And the pelvic attitude switched from a slight anterior lordosis to no lordosis posterior tilt. With the backpack on in the frontal plane, his nose and chin moved laterally left 2 centimeters. His sternal notch 3 centimeters laterally to the left. Navel another 3 centimeters right laterally. Pubis lateral 3 centimeters right, and pelvic obliquity was right side superior to left.